They were testing this today and had left it
Left the
for
toner.
us. Oh,
Were they
my God.
testing to see if it could be heard from
All
town?
the dogs are running.
Yeah.
Sounds exactly like somebody blowing out a water jug or something.
Oh, great.
It's the exact same pitch.
Really big
Joy.
lightsaber. What do you think, Val? You think
Good.
that?
Is she ready? I took my glasses off, I can't see anything, sorry. I'd like to call the meeting to order. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. I think the first thing we should address is the minutes, approval of the agenda. Does anybody have anything to add or change they would like to suggest adding or changing?
I'll do a roll call. See if I can.
Dennis can,
Yeah, I'm gonna record for the minutes who's here. I would like, it says discuss change of the meeting schedule to the third Thursday, and we were actually looking to switch it to the fourth Thursday, right?
Yeah, because the third Thursday is where we were. Yeah.
okay, we can change that, please.
Question, my appointment's up in October. I don't know what happens to me now.
I'm sorry?
I said my appointment to this committee is up in October. I was appointed till a year for October, so I'm basically done after this meeting, I think. I don't know how it works otherwise.
Do you want to reapply?
I could, sure.
I'll have them, reappointing you to the next meeting, next week's agenda.
All right, does anybody have any announcements? And I don't see anybody here for public comment. Shall we move on to the approval of the minutes?
I reviewed them. I didn't see anything that needed to be addressed. They were fine.
I thought they were fine as well.
Yeah, they were good.
Everybody in favor of approval of the minutes as they're written, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes approved as written. And
And that
then,
was motioned by you and seconded by...
I'll second.
sorry, thank you. And do we need to revote now that we have a second?
Yeah, is it unanimous, right?
Thank you. Everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Alrighty, the next thing on the agenda, we've had numerous discussion back and forth over the past month about changing to the fourth Thursday of the month rather than the third. It seemed that everybody was in favor of that, but I thought that we should make it official by putting it through the voting process. Does anybody have anything they'd like to discuss about it?
I mean, I think we should wait to vote on that until we have more members present, since we're missing at least a couple people.
Okay,
But it does seem like from the email exchanges that doesn't seem to be an issue or anything like that.
Have we heard from anybody who can't do the fourth Thursday?
no, not to my
Yeah,
knowledge.
not explicitly.
The only person I know that we haven't heard from at all was Anna, and then there was a new person that was listed in the circle of emails.
Steven.
Yeah,
Steven.
last month
And he
was
said he
his
could,
first
though.
month, and he said he could be here. He also said he'd be here tonight. So,
Okay.
Jeff, you said he should be here as well.
I mean, I saw the same email you saw.
Alright.
Hopefully it shows up. Otherwise, I'll try to reach out to him and be like, hey.
Well, the problem we're gonna run into is our next meeting, if we keep it as scheduled, is in 2 weeks.
Well, I was going to suggest that we decided this meeting to move it to the 4th, since we had consensus on the discussion online, and then vote for the permanent change when we have more members present.
I think
that's a
everybody was
proper way
fine
to
with that.
approach
Okay, so that's your motion?
My motion, yes, I move that we hold the next meeting on the 4th Thursday of October.
That's
And-
the 26th.
All right, October 26th.
I won't be here for that meeting. But I'm fine with the fourth Thursday.
Okay. And then, at that meeting, finalize the decision to move the meetings permanently to the 4th Thursday. Anybody second that?
I'll second that.
And all in favor, say aye. Thank you.
I'll probably have a conflict on the 26th too, but other than that, I don't foresee it.
No, it's good on the 26th. Okay. And then the decision to, I believe I have it on here that we need to pick a member. I got the notice from, the assistant that we need to choose somebody to take our minutes on a regular basis. And after I realized that, I put it on the agenda, but after I realized that we have so few members here, that maybe we should table that till the next meeting as well. All right, so.
I thought that the process is when something opens up like this, whoever's not here gets voted in.
So too.
That's why I asked if Robin was here. She's the one who comes with the computer.
That's first
She
thing
types the whole time. While she's
No.
here, she's taking minutes anyway.
Yeah, she's kind of cool at that.
But I do want to give everybody the opportunity to either say they'd like to or they don't want to. And I think
Being
that's.
that I won't be here at the next meeting, I definitely would not like to.
After all the
I
work
think
you
you just
did.
set a precedent on what we do when somebody's not here.
Well, if that's the case, then we'll vote on it right now.
Okay, so I'm going to move that we move item number 3, choosing a member to record the minutes into to the next meeting on October 26th, because we're apt to have more people.
Is it known that we need someone to do this?
Yes,
Yeah.
I received an email from, not Alberta, I'm
Right,
sorry.
but did you put that out to all of us? Because I don't remember seeing that.
I think I remember
I
seeing
saw
an
it.
email about it.
Yeah, I responded that I was going to put it on the agenda for us to discuss the day we got the email from her.
Maybe send an email out letting everyone know if anyone's interested to reach out to you, so we
We
can
can
show
make-
up to the next meeting and
Okay,
address.
I'll send it out tonight.
I imagine everyone's going to be falling over each other to be able to take minutes, right?
Pardon?
I'd imagine it's going to be a really hotly desired position.
Here's competition.
Rock, paper, scissors.
I don't mind doing it. Well, see, on Thursdays, I usually come here after having 11 hours of school. I don't really want to be that.
I think whoever shows up with a laptop needs the job, and I think it's going to be run.
Yeah, she usually does take very thorough notes. as
Yeah,
we're going
I know
along,
she
so,
does, and
yeah.
I'm hoping she'll say she'd like to, but also entails making sure that everybody else gets it, and she may not want to take
Yeah,
that
there's a lot of
responsibility.
background work.
So, I'd like to be fair about it. Okay, and then going back to old business, I'd like to, we've had conversation about the proposed, I only saw the previous iteration in an email in the last few days, and then I received the new proposal that we discuss the ethical law again, which I believe, you're more familiar with this? Do you want to present to everybody
Well,
what
yeah, just
that
to give
email's about?
everybody a background of where we are. The law has gone back and forth, and I know Ed's been very in touch with everything going back too, so correct me if I forget anything. But it's been going back and forth, and now it's at the point where we've gotten the attorney's input, and he seems to think that some of the things may be an overreach, and there may be, there may be issues if we push for some of the things that we're pushing for. So now the new thought amongst several people on the board, without meaning in public, I hate to say that it's the board's feeling, but my feeling is that I think we're probably going to try and move forward with the ethical law, or as close to the ethical law as possible. Because one, the 14 days was something that Ed raised, and candidates. The attorney thinks it may be an overreach compared to state law.
It looks like you
And-
said 21 days is kind of the minimum.
And yeah, because it's not specified in state law and
State law is fair and reasonable, and when you look at court cases in New York State regarding the return of security deposit, there have been decisions that have said as short as 21 days or as long as 45 days. Depends which municipality.
Yep.
yeah. So I would imagine that, or I would hope that by the end of next Wednesday's meeting, there will be something concrete that we're moving forward with. I'm actually not going to be at next Wednesday's village board meeting, so I'm just going to let them know my thoughts in advance so they can act according. And so that's pretty much where we're at.
So Dennis, I have a question. I think this is the fourth version, and or changes to. If the village board's meeting is next Wednesday, and this latest rendition that I got 2 days ago is going to change, when would we get the change?
It's going to be a public conversation next Wednesday at the table as far as what to move, because no one of us can say this is what we're going to do. Right.
I
So
understand.
until we actually sit down and say this is what we want to move forward with,
But but I'm saying every time I get a new copy, there's changes made, and I'm just trying to understand the process of how it's changing.
we're getting feedback from you that's been driving a lot of the changes. We've been getting feedback from other people in the community as well. We're taking that feedback to heart. We're trying to get it right and do something that's not going to get us sued or leave us liable. You know, we have the goal of trying to find those small number of landlords that aren't doing the right thing and holding them accountable. We don't want to overreach and make a hardship for any other landlords.
Sure.
We don't want to leave any tenants, you know, left out in the lurch. I tried adding something to the law that the attorney also didn't feel was a good move to add, and that was something that just in situations where you have shared spaces and multiple leases, I was trying to get it incorporated that if one person leaves in that shared space, if the landlord doesn't go and inspect the shared space, they can't 2 weeks later hold that person accountable for damage in the shared space. And the attorney found fault with that. So, but that's one of the things, you know, as we're getting more feedback, we're going back. This is the right process. It's frustrating, but, you know, I swear every single election, all you hear people say, oh, we need more collaboration, we need to work together, and then this is the result of collaboration. You
Well, I
end
think
up
this has been
doubling
a
back 5
collaboration.
times. Huh?
I think it's been a good collaboration.
It's
been nice back
absolutely
and
been,
forth.
and that's,
And the version that Ed's talking about, that included that, I sat down and wrote it's on my phone. I decided if I needed to bring up any of those points, I might, but it would be so burdensome and not work, and because I'd end up charging more tenants for cleanings because they'd have to do it every time somebody left, though everybody's leases end at the same time. I don't need to go through all the details, but I'm glad that it went back and forth and then came back to something that is eminently doable, the thing we got today. And I actually really like the sharpening up of what constitutes, what's the right word? Holding people responsible with a description of what.
In KT's email?
If
Yes.
you have shared spaces, wouldn't they all be leaving at the same time?
Pardon me? Not
No,
always.
that's
Not
I
always.
occasionally have someone who leaves mid-semester, but 90% of the time. But their actual physical selves
Yeah.
want to leave day by day. One person's leaving all throughout the entire summer.
Well, yeah.
So,
Well, I've had that happen. My leases in the space end at the same time, so they all have to be out at the same day. But what happens often is that one person will leave a couple days, you know, school gets done, they're not gonna hang around. And they leave, and okay, I'm gone, and I'm like, well, okay, you're gone, but the apartment's not clean, so you have to come back on the 23rd and clean it with the other 3 people. So that's what's all.
So Dennis, I'm sorry, were you done with that?
I'm just going to read the part that I really liked, where the previous law, I think this is the Ithaca version, says, make a good faith effort to estimate the property. I don't like vagaries. I don't like things that are vague or non-specific. especially that leave it so open to interpretation when there's an easy solution. Provide the documents. And it's very, I think it's an easily solved, here's the details. I like that. I want to
And that language was changed in
KT.
what was sent, and I agree with that. So right now, do you believe that we should be talking about the ethical law specific?
I believe it would be the best
Okay.
use of your time, yeah.
Based off that newest email that you forwarded us.
I mean, I'll tell you personally, based on what we've heard from the lawyer, I'm leaning towards the ethical law with, minor tweaks to get
It's
worked
already
out
been adopted.
between now and Wednesday.
There's legal precedents about what you can and can't do in terms of home rule and whatnot. The ethical law, I have absolutely no problem with it. I think it's an excellent starting point. I've spoken with several people up in Tompkins County. They actually have a landlord association. I was able to speak with them there. And they said the fact that they had the laws on their local books, their judges pay a lot more attention to than just a vague law that's somewhere in New York State. And there are plenty of case judgments that you can go on there and read and see where landlords didn't do the right thing and judges awarded not only security back, treble damages, attorney's fees, which I think is what the purpose of the Village of New Paltz looking at, giving the tenants as much of a say and a solid footing in dealing with landlords who aren't doing the right thing. So I don't have any issue with the ethical law whatsoever. I mean, as a tenant, have you had a chance to look at it?
I looked it over. The only thing that I want to work on is in the ethical law. It has a 30 days deposit. Since we have our lawyer saying that 21 is, potentially doable, I'd like to explore possibly having that be 21 as opposed to 30. But everything else I saw in there, I think, is pretty much what we've been working towards here.
Yeah, and one of the concepts that's being run past the attorney at the moment is whether we can modify the ethical code to at least say, if you're not going, you have to give notification of what they'll be getting back within 14 or 21 days, even if they're not getting the money back. So at least people can plan accordingly as they're going.
And with the actual documentation of the costs incurred, not just the estimates.
Right. Or even an estimate, because, in instances where there's utilities and the bills may not come through, you have to estimate or at least, at least communicate, I'm not giving this back because we have to see what your share of the electric bill is.
Dennis, when I opened up the email that you sent just tonight with the ethical law in it, and one of the first things that pops out is the 30 days. And to me, I was okay with the other one with the 14. But when I saw the 30, it just struck me that 30 is more of a common law time frame. I mean, you get your bills, you need to pay them within 30 days. It just seems that 30 days is kind of a common time frame that people use for exchanges of money. The other thing I felt in the other law that the village is working on, there's some faulty reasoning in that about the only reason I could see why they wanted the 14 days was because the tenants needed to arrange for subsequent housing, and therefore they needed that money back. Well, that's just not even a point to me, because if somebody leaves my house and goes and moves into Valerie's house, she's not going to wait 14 days till I get around to sending the security back to get money from them. They have to have money when they get to a place. So the fact that, you have to hurry up and get your security back in 14 days so these people can arrange for new housing, it's not going to help them in 14 days.
Well, it actually would. It's the logic and the thinking behind that was that there are a lot of people who end up crashing on someone else's couch for that time frame while they're waiting to get the money back to get into somewhere else. They're couch surfing, they're, doing whatever they can to get by living in their car. There are a lot of people who don't have the money and have to find another situation for a couple of weeks until they do. And we can't write laws that cover every single person. We're just trying to get as encompassing as we can.
I mean, I have waited for people that said, they give me an amount of money, small amount of money, and I'll wait for them. My landlord's going to give me back my security next week or whatever, and I've waited for that. So I understand that it can be a factor, but it just seemed to, if that was going to be the big glaring reason of why you have to give it back in 14 days so that they can give it to somebody, a new landlord, it just didn't make sense to me. And the number 30 just seemed to be be very clearly to me what is common law.
There's nothing that prevents a landlord from returning it earlier.
Nothing at all,
And
no.
hopefully we can do a good job of educating
Right.
the landlords out there. Listen, I've spoken with a lot of different landlords, and we all do it a little bit differently, and we can all learn something about how they're able to do things quicker or more efficiently. Whether it's 14 days or 21 days, it really boils down to what the state law is. And the state law is fair and reasonable. It's 21 to 45 days. Ithaca's law has been on the books as written for 25 years. Whether it's been contested, I don't know. We want to get a law on the books. I think the majority of people want to get a law on the books quickly and a good law on the books quickly. I think that this is an excellent starting point. I spoke with KT briefly. I know that she was able to pull some judgments from when tenants and landlords go to court. She's still crunching the data, but in our discussion, she really didn't say it was in favor of one or the other, but she still hasn't gotten through all that data, and she was hoping to have that, I think, at the meeting next week.
Were you able to talk to anybody in Ithaca to actually ask, has this law helped their tenants?
The conversations I've had is it's really made leases get longer, because the judges in Ithaca, for instance, if it's not spelled out in the lease, the landlord can't ask for it and the tenant can't ask for it because it wasn't in there. For instance, if you sit there and say that I can charge you a $150 cleaning fee, if it is not spelled out that it's an hourly rate, judge throws it out. And this is something that's going to take on kind of a life of its own and see how the local courts judge. I mean, the most powerful language in this is the treble damages and landlords' previous experiences with tenants and the courts and having the teeth. Now, in small claims court, the most that can be awarded is $3,000. So if it's a $1,500 security deposit, they'll get the $1,500 back plus double the treble damages up to $3,000. But it's, as I heard from a couple of them, there's a lot of smart people up there and there's a lot of litigation.
I think it's great if it helps people tighten up leases, and just for the same reason I liked the detail that was changed in the Ithaca law to specify how to prove whatever your expense is going to be. I mean, over 17 years, my lease has evolved to be extremely detailed, and it's long for that reason. But I think, I don't know that limiting days is going to, it may be. The fact that we're able to inform them within 14 days, not necessarily of the amount, but that here's why. I'm still waiting for electric bills, the carpet has to be replaced, whatever. The fact that that can go out and then the proper detailed math can be done and submitted to the tenant with the bills, that's how I do it now. So that's okay, I can work with that, whether it's 14, 21, or 30, that works for me. But there was a little bit of, the idea that it sort of came across, and I'm not sure if I understood you correctly, that you were saying that we need to be able to give them an estimate of how much they're going to get back by 14 days. That's not always possible. But I can tell them why they're not getting it back and what I'm waiting for that will provide me with the number.
Right, yeah, no, I didn't mean to say that you have to
Good.
tell them
I just wanna make
exactly
sure
how
I-
much, it's just you just have to communicate the story, what's
Right.
going on, so that way they have an idea of what's going
Right.
on.
If we can educate our landlords that you had a checklist, you have a move out letter of what you expect, and that in the event, if you're able to have all of these done, I'll have a check there ready.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really the goal of this, is how can we help the tenants get their money back quicker? Because they don't always need 30 days,
Right.
so.
There was one other, you were speaking, I'm sorry. Oh, I thought you said something, it wasn't, my head wasn't swinging fast
No, I
enough
was
to
just
catch
going to
your
comment
lips
earlier
moving.
that I think 21 days is okay, because before we had all hesitantly agreed that 14 was doable, and 30, as on Ithaca, 21 just splits that perfectly. I mean, that, we can always discuss that more when we have more people here, but I think 21 days is doable, and it's kind of a compromise between both parties.
I would only say that I wouldn't argue against it because the lawyer already approved that that could be possible. I did think 14 was too short. I said that originally.
Yeah, and that's the other thing with the feedback from the village attorney, saying 14 is not doable, but 21 seems to be. I think it's definitely an avenue worth pursuing.
I don't like the idea that if it takes 17 more weeks of passing it back and forth to decide on 21 or 30, that we should spend that time, village time that could be spent elsewhere, that we should probably go with 30 and make it work through education, rather than spend an extended amount of time bickering over 7 days.
I'd rather spend more time getting a better number on the books, because if we get 30 on the books, odds are it's not going to be revisited and changed really at any point in the near future. I think once this law is in place, it's not going to be revised all that much, so I think we should get the strongest one in place before we, take that time. I don't think it'll take 17 weeks. It might take a few though.
I don't disagree with you, because I was the one who was in favor of 14 days, and that's something that I do.
Mm-hmm.
The reason the attorney said 21 days is because it's 21 to 45 days.
Exactly.
And if there's a group of people who want to take this to court, I don't want to waste the village's time, I don't want to waste the village's money. Ithaca's law is on the books, and I know you say you don't know how many times this is going to be revisited. Let's get the Ithaca law on the books as it is written, and then allow due process to work its way through, giving our judges some guidelines in which they can go and enforce. And on top of that, then we need to educate the tenant, we need to educate the landlords about what the right thing to do is.
I get that, and I appreciate what you're saying, but as the Ithaca law is, I cannot support adopting its new clause with a 30-day security deposit. Sure.
I'm not feeling strongly either way, so I'm gonna express that.
Well, this is good too, because that email we just got that earlier today,
Right.
So it's still we still need to get.
The one thing I
feedback.
actually have more concern about rather than 21 or 30, though I would prefer the 30, but I'm not against the 21 because the lawyer said, and Ed has explained very well, that it's within a range that has been already adjudicated in different cases, and New York approves at that time frame, so I'm okay with that. And the fact that I'm able to notify the tenants, this is why it's taken longer to settle, I'll get it, and be fair. I have more concern about in Article 2 agreements on renewal. There were two things. One, the way this is written, it has
Which article was it? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. It's the last paragraphy looking section of the Ithaca law. One thing I wanted to bring up, I don't know if we're discarding everything to do with that to move to this, but what I didn't think was good in the version we got a couple of days ago, before this one, was also that the state approves double and treble damages based on the judge's, his discerning the history and the goodwill of the relationship and previous history of the landlord, and I think that's okay. But adding additional, my first objection to the changes of the law was that if the building department or other regulatory agencies within the village government itself starts adding additional fees and charges of $100 or this week and $200 the next week, or are we just confusing the law that already says this is what the judge can use? I think that is burdensome and conflicted. I think that the treble damages should be sufficient, and once or twice somebody gets that put at them because of bad practice, better practice will fall into place without the burden of additional duties on. I wasn't sure who was going to be assessing those fines. Has that been discarded?
I can't say it's been discarded. It's, I do think the focus is on the ethical law at the moment.
Okay.
Are you talking about the 25% and 50% if it goes in?
No, it's 100 and 150 now.
Oh.
Each week past the 14 days.
Right.
That wasn't even on the recent ethical law thing, though, that
No, it's
we were
not.
discussing that, okay.
So that I guess my question is the idea, I'm going to strongly recommend from my personal self, if we're just going to give a group, then everybody can have their own comments on this, but I'm going to strongly recommend that they not try to combine those two versions
I don't
of the
think that was
law.
the intent.
Okay,
That is.
Yeah, no one has told me they have any intention or desire to combine the two documents.
That is the intent on the law as of 3 days ago.
That's not the most recent thing that we're discussing now, but the most recent thing we've been discussing is the email Dennis sent out this
So
afternoon.
that's why I'm asking, what are we working on? And when Val just asked Dennis, he didn't say that they're not looking at that.
Well, because I can't say what other people want to do.
Yeah, he
I
had
can only,
looking at ethical.
I spoke with KT, I know you've spoken with KT, I'm sure you know where her thoughts are, mine are very close to hers at the moment, so if I had to guess, I would say the ethical law is where we should be spending our time, but if the other 3 board members feel differently, I don't want to look
fair.
like I'm misleading everybody
Yeah, but the
come
problem we
Wednesday.
run into, and I'm sorry to interrupt, if they do the treble damages and the 150 on top, it still can't go over $3,000
right,
within the small claims.
right.
And just, so you said you're fine with 21 days. The way the ethical law is written, you have 21 days in which to notify. Whatever you're withholding, you withhold, but in that 21 days, you have to send whatever's left over along with the letter detailing. That's in 258-6.
Thank you.
It's right in the middle, the written statement specifying the reasons for the retentions of any portion of the security deposit shall be accompanied by a full payment of the difference between the security deposit and the amount retained. You're not just notifying it within 21 days. You're notifying and sending whatever is not going to be used.
Oh, I knew I had this someplace. The double and treble damage awards are on top of what you're suing for. This says right here, for example, many small claims courts limit damages award to $2,000. However, if the jurisdiction allows double and treble damage awards, the plaintiff may be awarded $4,000 or even $6,000. So I think this, to me, is saying that you go to court, you're asking for $1,000 back because that's your security deposit, and then the judge finds that the landlord was really at fault, so he says, okay, triple, and so then that's on top of that. It doesn't have to fall underneath the, the threshold for the awards that the court allows.
Where are you reading that from?
Legal topics, it's legalmatch.com, law library.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that. Can we go back to that? I just want to go back to this 20
Yeah,
days.
I'm reading it for a third time to make sure that I understand it fully.
Is that part of the most recent one Dennis sent us, or is
Yes.
That's the ethical law,
that? Okay.
which again, I don't have any problem with.
And what section was it? I'm sorry.
258-6,
Section
section
6,
A,
okay.
right in the middle.
Okay, the way this is written, I would definitely strongly vote for 30 days because it doesn't allow for additional time to get repairs done. And it would cripple some of the programs I do for my tenants to not be able to, and I wouldn't be able to do the complete and total repairs that I do in between tenants to make sure that the property is in the same state every year. And most of my securities go out between that 21 and 30-day period. So 21 would be, some of the utilities don't even come in until then. You know, the bills themselves or if there are any major repairs, trying to get 5 crews together to fix 6 buildings within the same time period to get all of that back. Sometimes it goes over and they have to be prioritized. So I would strongly vote for the 30. I thought that this said that you could describe what the needs were and then have it follow the check and the bills. But this actually says that it must be paid in full by the 30 days.
Any portion that you can, if
Pardon?
there's something
I didn't
that's,
say 21 days.
I thought you said in Ithaca it was already that they had with 21
No, I was
days
saying,
to send.
you wanted to say 21 days, so I was saying if it's not returned within 21 days, that's what we're proposing. The ethical law is 30 days for a reason.
No, I was confused. I thought you said that it was 30 days to have it returned in full, but 21 to send a note saying, you know, we didn't clean the carpet, so we have 50, so with that 50, we're gonna hold until, you know.
Everything
I
in
understood
Ithaca
that
is
as
30
well,
days.
yeah. So I would strongly feel that sticking with 30 because it works in a reasonable way.
And the language in 258-7 is pretty strong, that the landlord doesn't do it within the 30 days. If he does not send a letter, does not send any of the security deposit back, the landlord doesn't have a leg to stand on. And I like that language.
It also makes sure that it's a cumulative effect of practice. Poor practice becomes cumulative against the landlord who makes practice of being.
I believe the issues in New Paltz are not necessarily whether it's 14 days, 21 days, or 30 days. It's the fact that there's landlords who just aren't returning anything without any documentation, and the tenants have not had a leg to stand on.
As somebody who's very much in touch with tenants, I do also think that the time constraints put a lot of pressure on students in this
No
town.
doubt, I'm not arguing that point at all. I was a student once, I
Yep.
rented, I understand it. But again, it's got to be fair and balanced.
Well, I mean, and I honestly, I don't think 21 is any stretch. I mean, everybody here has said that they're, you know, have shown that they're responsible landlords, and that 21 is not, you know, necessarily like a hardship or anything like that. So, I mean, I think that would be a good way to set an example to other landlords that this is something that can be done and, you know, really should be done. So, you know, I'm still, you know, pushing for 21 days. I'm going to continue to push for that.
I would expect you. I mean, listen, you're one tenant.
Yeah, exactly.
Landlord.
Yeah.
I get that. I respect that. I'm just more concerned about
The litigation that may result
what's
from.
going to hold up
Yup.
in court.
Yeah, no, and I totally, I mean, I would love to get some more legal feedback on, you know, it seemed like the village attorney said 21 is doable, but like, is it doable or is it, you know, a legitimate possibility?
Is it practical?
Like, yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of things are doable. That doesn't mean it's
That
going to
doesn't mean
happen
they're
or it's going to be a
practical.
good thing.
And-
So I think, you know, potentially getting some more in-depth feedback on that would definitely be beneficial before we can make an absolute decision.
One of the things that I have pushed for since the beginning is that every decision we make we should be assessing the impact on the community. And we know it's college town, and I don't know how many students or tenants each of the other landlords have, but my tenants move out in giant blocks. And so trying to promise that every one of them would get their money back in a limited amount of time, limiting the time we had to do repairs within the process, would have a negative impact on the community, because those would be multiple buildings competing for attention during a 21-day window that I know is practical and doable in a 30-day window.
But it should also be doable in a 21-day window, because I mean, legally, you're supposed to have all the deposits in a bank, so you know, it's not like you have
It's not
to
about writing checks.
running around to look for,
not about finding
you
the
know.
money.
It's not about writing checks. I have the money in the checks. It's
I know,
about-
I'm just saying, I mean, clearly I'm not a landlord, so I don't know
Right.
what it's like to be a landlord, but in my mind, you know, you're running a business, so you should be able to get these things done in a reasonable amount of time. You know, you should have somebody, you know, scheduled very shortly after people move out to come in and inspect everything, and and look and see if there's any damages and give you estimates and that kind of thing.
If I was to hire a staff that would be able to do this in 14 days, my rents would have to go
Oh,
up.
no,
I wouldn't want to do that to my tenants.
Well, I'm also just saying, as somebody who runs a business, I feel like it's a lot of this onus is on the landlords to make sure that they're running their business above board and keeping it above board, and really, striving to make it, good for everybody involved.
Right, and I just think that reducing the time to a level trying to find the help at that time of year, cleaning staff, we hoard those people because they're not out there. Yeah, it's a challenge to find painters, cleaners.
I mean, we're in a college town, it can't be that hard.
It is. We're talking about skilled labor that has to get it done in the right time frame.
When you have 4,000 or 5,000 people moving out, it is quite difficult to get cleaning people.
But I can tell you that there are people in this town that would be more than happy to do a good job helping clean and that kind of thing. There's a lot of unemployed people in this town. A lot of them are right over there.
But you also understand that the people that I have on my staff, I can trust them in people's homes. It's more than just. It's a process. I just do not feel that the process can be done.
You chose to run a business, and that's something that is entailed with running a business is maintaining staff and getting all that stuff done.
But you also have to balance the cost of the staff versus the cost on the tenant.
Right.
I'm also trying to keep tenant costs low. So.
But that's also that also serves your benefit, because if your costs are too high, people just won't rent from you.
If my costs drop, people will rent from me. But that doesn't mean it will serve my neighbors to have beautiful homes near them and provide a safe and neighborhood that's looking really nice and intact and not. I need to be able to maintain my neighborhood more than I even maintain my business, because I live there myself. I'm maintaining my home where I live. Every house around me, my neighbors are extremely important to me, and maintaining that neighborhood at the level at which it stays, that's very important.
So you're going to put the cost of maintaining your neighborhood on your tenants?
No.
Am I understanding that correctly?
They're keeping the house in the same state it was in when they moved in, is on the tenants.
I guess what I'm confused about is 2 weeks, or last meeting, it seemed like everybody was on board for 14 days, and now it seems like nobody's on board.
There was a difference
for 14 days.
you actually quoted yourself what the difference was. We thought we could notify them about the different things that were still in process, and everybody there were no repairs, 14 days, no problem. But now it says that the money has to be returned along with the notification for those that require.
I mean, I guess I misunderstood, but I'm going to go back and look at the tape, and I'm pretty sure we had all said that 14 days to return, to at least have, say this is what we're going to keep because of X, Y, and Z. I'm pretty sure that if we look at the video that was what everybody had agreed on.
I think, first of all, everything you said, I absolutely agree with 100%.
Thank you.
That's how I run my rentals. But not everybody does it the way I do it, nor can they do it. Or do they want to do it? I mean, those are three completely different things. As for what you were just talking about, the New Paltz law was not clear. And that's what I've been trying to do, is get clarity on what specifically are we talking about. Yes, I was on board with 14 days, but after the research that I did, it's not going to hold up in a court of law.
Yeah, well, and that's what the attorney kicked back to us, yeah.
And again, I think 21 days won't hold up in a court of law. Because people are going to sit there and say Ithaca has 30 days and it's worked for, there are other municipalities that do 45 days. So if you're looking at 21 to 45, all right, let's make it 36, because that's the middle of or 34. That's the middle of the law.
Well,
the Ithaca law specifically states that you have to return within 30 days a list as well as the difference. You don't have, when we were around this table, it wasn't clear whether it was, we have 14 days. If there are issues, we just have to notify them. And then once the repairs are done, we send the balance back. That was the way I had interpreted the last meeting. So right now on the Ithaca, it is spelled out that the way the Ithaca law is written, it's 30 days, and within 30 days you have to send a letter detailing what monies were withheld and a check for the balance. If you don't do that within the 30 days, the landlord has no right to any of the deposit. All the deposit goes back to the tenant. That was not how it was written in this. So, again, I understand exactly what you're saying. The 21, it doesn't preclude any landlords from sending it back earlier, and I think at some point we'll get to the handbook. And I said this at the meeting. I think our job should be to educate and communicate to the tenants and the landlords.
No, I agree with that.
So listen, the legislation that's on the books in the town of Ithaca has been there for 25 years. It's held up in court. Let's get that done. Let's focus on educating. You know, there's a lot of things that we can do from an educational standpoint. And even maybe put in a letter in here that tenants can give their landlords. Assuming I turn everything back within a specific, as requested, you know, is it safe to believe that I'll get my security deposit back in 14 days? Let them get into that. Then they're signing off one-on-one. Let's give them that opportunity to do that. But from what can get approved, I'm not an attorney, but from what I've read from everybody I've talked to, I really think that the Ithaca law, it's spelled out except for the changes that they made as opposed to a good faith estimate. Instead of a good faith, it should be a detail as to what it was.
Is there no law on the books now? Because actually what has really surprised me throughout all of our meetings and talking to people, because being on the committee council, the number of people that never, and you mentioned it before, the number of people that just get nothing back at all. They don't get their security back at all. There's no letter, there's no nothing. They didn't use it up, they didn't leave a disaster, they just don't get their security back. I mean, so many people said that. Why don't those people go to court?
Many reasons.
Why? What are they?
Well, if they live out in East Hampton, Long Island, it's going to take them 5 hours to come back up here. They're not going to do it.
Well, they don't know.
I mean, that happened to me, for example, when I was living in the Adirondacks. When I moved out here, my old landlord didn't return my deposit. I had $1,200 in mine, never got it back. If I were to take him to court, I'd have to drive 5 hours to the Adirondacks.
Did you ever get notification?
No, never got anything from it.
So with this law, as Ithaca's written, if you had no notification within 30 days,
exactly.
you go right to court. I have no notification. It's on the landlord to prove that they sent you notification. Exactly. Guess what? There'll be a lot more cases. Guess what? Landlords are going to start paying attention. Guess what? Things will be a little bit better. There still will be the handful of landlords who...
It just surprises me that so many people are willing to just let that money go by.
It's not something that they really, it's just something that you pretty much have to eat. I mean, most of these people, they're, students that are my age or younger, and they've either never gone through the court system, they're inexperienced, and they're just like, oh, what's the point of going to court? The landlord's going to win anyway. It's just a lot of, lack of education on it, which I think is something we really need to get into, and just kind of that feeling of futility. They're like, who am I to go up against?
Everybody, I can tell you that from the landlords I spoke to, just about every student knows of the ethical landlord, of the law. And that will be a good thing for New Paltz, that the students know. And someone says, I didn't get my money back from my landlord. They come back 2 months later, well, did you get a letter? No, take them to small claims court.
Well, and that's honestly like one of my biggest reasons for really trying to adopt the Ithaca law for New Paltz with the whole 21 days thing is, like, yes, the Ithaca law is great, but as has been stated multiple times, it is 25 years old. Like, let's try to strengthen it a little bit for, the current century and kind of bring it up to date with current, economic status of students and things like that, and really kind of tailor it to New Paltz.
What I don't understand. Quantify that.
A lot of my focus is on students just because that's what I'm most familiar with. So students 25 years ago, school was a lot less expensive. There were a lot less costs incurred with school, and it was a lot easier to afford to go to school on your own in addition to paying rent and those kind of things. But that's not necessarily, the case anymore. So having a 21-day window as opposed to a 30-day window just helps those people it helps the tenants a bit more, and it does put more pressure on the landlord, as has been stated. But you know, as you stated yourself, if the landlords are doing a good job, it shouldn't really be any additional burden on them.
It shouldn't be, but again, there's a reason why New York State has its fair and reasonable.
I know. And 21 days falls within that category, but as you said, also there's 45.
Right. So I've done a lot of research on it, the 21 to 45 days, and
I think Newport should adopt the ethical law, pretty much as it is written, and I think that should be something that we incorporate right in a very visible place in our handbook, so that the kids know, you know. And I'm a landlord, but I think it's outrageous, because it gives everybody a bad name and a black eye. And I was amazed at the people that said they didn't get their money back, and I think it should be in the handbook that these are your rights. This is what the landlord has to do. And
I think we do a much better job
of
arming the students.
within, I'm saying 30 days, you're entitled to your whole security back, no matter what you did. You could have burned the house to the ground.
yeah.
And the landlord didn't notify you within 30 days, you're getting your whole security back. So but I understand what you're saying, but I just keep going back to, as I'm going through this, what's going to hold up and what's not.
Well, and honestly, I think it's very prudent to table this for the 26th meeting, not just because we'll have more people to discuss it and eyes on it, but it also gives me an opportunity to reach out to people that I know that are actual tenants in Ithaca and see, if 30 days is a burden on them, and just kind of see how, the law has affected them, and that kind of thing, just to get some, feedback. Because I know you've reached out to a lot of landlords in Ithaca and that committee. I think
Reached out to the chamber, I reached out to a lot of people.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to talk to
Reach out to people from 25 years ago when it was changed.
I do know people that have lived in Ithaca for about 40 years, so hopefully. But really, as I would like to speak to the students there, because there's Cornell, there's a couple other schools there, and just see
60,000
because a lot of them, they've lived in their own hometown and potentially rented and then lived in Ithaca to see, if the difference in laws has made it better or worse for them and how it's affecting, just kind of wrap my head around how, as you were saying earlier, these things are going to affect the community as a whole.
And the only other thing I would like you to look at, which I've been trying to do, I'm trying to be unbiased, but I can't be unbiased because I'm a landlord.
Yeah.
You keep saying students, I keep saying students, but there are a lot of landlords who don't rent to students.
Yep.
And where you're talking about the impact that it's having on just students, we're not tailoring a law just for students.
Yeah,
This is a law for the entire village.
I rent to families too.
Oh yeah.
So it's,
I know.
and that's where
That's why it'd be great to get some tenant representation that was also families, because most of my experience is just myself or being a student or that kind of thing. So it's hard for me to get that family perspective and how they're affected.
so.
may I just say something? I'm very much passionate about making sure that students, that especially those with low income, I have all kinds of things to do to make sure I can work with that and give them a great home. And I really appreciate your passion. I don't want to seem to be putting that down.
Yeah, no,
Okay, yeah. I don't know if I didn't want to be too intense because I do hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So and I think as I've stated and everybody stated here, you guys are really the issue in this town. You guys are responsible and you're doing things right. It's the people that aren't that or who we need to flesh out and kind of make the public aware of.
And that's why I put a lot of work into that handbook and trying to get that done. But the village board is meeting next week. Are they looking for an opinion from this board?
On what? We don't even know exactly
Because
what.
we've got lots of opinions.
Honestly, all the talk about 14, 21 days, I'm sitting here going, it's all irrelevant until we see what comes out.
Yeah.
Comes out from where?
From the next village board meeting.
So they're going to have public hearing, I
There will
assume,
be,
again this week, and then they're going to talk
and
about.
afterwards, because we can't just,
So it's not a public hearing.
we have had ongoing public hearings, but we have to have a public hearing after we say this is what we're having.
Right.
Yeah, to get feedback.
We can't try and sneak it through because we've had multiple public hearings in the past.
Oh,
Once we say this is the final document, we still have to have a public hearing after that.
And would so I would like to move that we reserve our recommendations that, you've heard what we have to say and you can represent what.
Yeah, I
was
can
talked
use that
about.
to form.
But I
how
think a formal, and please disagree with me if you do, but I think a formal recommendation from this board should happen after more people have had the opportunity, and once the village board has actually made a draft of what they're moving forward with.
Exactly.
Okay, that's my
Yeah,
motion.
I second that.
Well, what
I
was
think
the
that's what
motion?
we had discussed.
My motion was
I don't even
that,
think a motion is necessary
Okay.
to
Pretty
not
much
do
just table it
something.
until we can get
and
some
to
more info.
table our recommendation until we get a final draft from the village and have the opportunity to review what they're actually talking about. Then we can make our recommendation on that before they move to vote on it.
Because right now it's just like, we're leaning
Yeah.
towards this, but we don't know if that's the actual.
And the
you know,
current
proposal.
conversation that we've had, Dennis is very capable of taking that back to them without a formal
I would like to
application.
make a motion
Okay, good, please.
that we as a group believe that the ethical law as written has a lot of merit. We have 4 people at the table, 3 of whom are landlords, 1 of whom is a tenant. I believe we're all comfortable with all the language except for the number of days. Jeff would like it to be 21. I believe that we would like it to be 30 as the law is written. Any discussion?
No, I think that sounded good, I'll second it. I was waiting for you to
Any
finish.
discussion?
I mean, that sounds accurate. I'm just hesitant to really, put a stamp on anything without other tenant representation here, just to get there.
Well, that's why I wanted it
Mhm.
said that there
Yeah,
was
no,
3
exactly.
landlords and 1 tenant.
Mhm.
And that we did not have a full,
Can I add something to the end of that? Just that this is where we're at with our recommendation at this point, but we'd like to make the opportunity to make a second recommendation once they have finalized their draft.
we will continue to discuss
There
it
you go.
as we see updated language.
That sounds good. Go ahead.
That's a really long motion.
It
So,
is a long one. Did you write that down?
so I started. Okay, so I motion the ethical law as written has a lot of merit. And the number of days is still up to discussion amongst the members of the Landlord-Tenant Relations Council. Is that a friendly amendment? Does anybody second that motion?
Could you just read the last 2 lines of the?
Dot, dot, dot.
The ethical law as written has a lot of merit, and the number of days is still up for discussion amongst the members of the LT.
I'd just like it to say, and if anybody else thinks that we would like to have ongoing participation in the discussion with the village board as this,
And
you
would
can word it
second
however you
amendment
want,
To your
We will
motion.
continue to discuss
as new, I like what you
as
said
new
last time.
language comes out from the village board.
I'll second that.
So we're not acting on anything, we're just,
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, it looks good.
Discussing
We're
our
working towards it.
conversation.
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, great.
Aye, aye, aye.
We're not done.
It's not even 8 yet. Oh, no, it's 8, okay.
It's 8. I'll have to send a text quickly. Sorry.
So, the
So we're
handbook.
on to number 4, right?
I know all of you printed it out and have been studying it and looking at it. Discussion?
I think it looks good. I think you did a great job.
That's what I figured people were going to say.
I think the person that had the most feedback is not here probably, right?
Yeah.
Well, I added most of what she said if it wasn't in duplicate. I think we can shorten it. Right now, it's 21 pages.
Yeah.
I think there's stuff in here that is not needed. I'm sure there's some stuff in here that can be added. Yeah, I think the front page was important, and there's stuff that we can add to this, especially when the law comes through. Yeah, it's, I'd like it on the front, whatever the days are. If you don't get your security deposit or correspondence back within whatever the days are.
Yeah, that should definitely be on the first or second page, because that's one of the biggest issues that people are having.
Again, there's a lot of information in here. I am not sure how many people are going to read 21 pages. So
I mean, honestly, I think something that could be done, I have to review the handbook again one more time. I haven't looked at it in a few days, but the difference is, because the state has its own tenants' right handbook, and it seems like a lot of that stuff has been incorporated into here. So one way to trim that down would be we have the state's tenant rights handbook, and then anything that doesn't discuss just kind of like general stuff like keep your stuff clean, be a good tenant, and the specifics of that, and anything specific to New Paltz, such as the ethical law we're talking about adopting. That stuff is what should be in the book.
So a lot of what Amanda asked me to add, I believe, was in that. And she felt strong, I wouldn't say strongly, but she had some passion that she wanted it in there.
I mean, it does make sense because you have everything in one place.
But I would really hope that at our next meeting, everyone's gone through this and say, oh, we can get rid of this, we can get rid of this.
I mean, I really think there's no need to reinvent the wheel. That handbook the state puts out has a lot of the legal information already. So I think this handbook should focus specifically on New Paltz and the things that book doesn't cover. So the two of them together are your comprehensive guide.
A lot of the language in here was from the handbook from the Students Association.
Yep.
And other municipalities, and just trying to find out what's right. For me, the important stuff is the heat.
Yeah.
When is the heat supposed to go on? I mean, it's
things that address habitability directly.
I think I don't remember seeing exactly in there, but some of the things that we're talking about tonight about how to introduce them to the process of recovering money from landlords that don't proceed.
I mean, simple
telling them where the resources, what kinds of resources can they find with the building department, what does having the building inspected mean to them, and how can they, there are things that will make them more cognizant of how to make the community work for them.
Well, and honestly, the first step for a lot of students in this town is just letting them know that, hey, you have rights as a tenant, and hey, there's a department that inspects buildings to make sure that your rights are upheld. Because so many people they just assume that they don't have rights, or that there's no entity there to provide them help. And that's.
Well, I would really like for us at this next meeting that if we can get through this, because I want to be able to share it with the college. Because if we get the college's blessing, the college is on the same page as the village is, so everyone's getting the same exact information. Because a lot of the issues, as you said, is the younger students.
Yeah.
And going from a dorm to here, they have a list of, they know when people aren't coming back to stay on campus.
Oh yeah.
This is something that they can send out.
Well, that's
excellent.
That's the other thing is finding, because the school does send out information, it has information available. But with the information glut that most students receive in their email every day, and in general, a lot of that stuff doesn't get viewed. So I would like to see if there's a way to kind of have that be more visible to students instead of just getting a generic email in their account. Have something
we're working on.
Have something a little bit more tailored and specific to be like, hey, you're living off campus, I think we're discussing an email where it's like, read this and sign acknowledging that you've read this if you're going to live off campus. Like something like that.
That's what I was trying to get them to do with the bulletin board. A lot of students find their rentals through the bulletin board.
Exactly.
Or even Perchin. If Perchin's going to be doing stuff in town, if they could have this there, if you're renting, read this, print this. Because I think that's
And as I said before, that's what drew me to the council, is educating the community and getting
one of the things I was thinking about as we were discussing this, and you just said about the information glut upon arrival, passing that out at the beginning of October when they don't have exams starting next week, and they don't have, oh my gosh, I just got here and I have 75 pamphlets.
What is midterms right now, even though it isn't?
But you know what I'm saying, though, is that pick a time, which is a couple of weeks out. It's like if you've got June rentals, send them out in July. If you have, just make it.
So how can this group get a Facebook page or an Instagram page or a Twitter page where we can disseminate information.
I would love to do that.
All you have to do is tell the clerk you want to make a Facebook page and you'll have one.
Um,
Or a social media policy, you know, and it's just, I know you're really passionate about getting this done, but I wonder if we come back next meeting and we're going to be talking about the other law, I just want to caution there, we may end up talking about the other law and then this ends up getting pushed back in, which I don't want to see, but I kind of...
would just like it that over the next 3 weeks, if people can look at this, if they have issues, they can share it with me beforehand so I can have a summary.
I think you've done a lot of work on that, and I would like us to respect that work by reviewing what he's done.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm just
If
saying,
it gets tabled, it gets tabled. I have no problem with that. The security deposit law is definitely important.
That's the thing.
I doubt that, listen, if the direction of the village board is to go somewhere towards the ethical law, I think the only challenge we're gonna have as a group is the number of days. The number of days, I can't imagine.
Very important thing. It's kind of like the end result of a good relationship and a good tenancy all the way through the lease time. And I didn't think when we can discuss this, when we discuss it, but I just didn't. It seemed to me that it was right up front, and I didn't think that it really needed to be right up front. I think it could have had another statement up there to say, this is how we're going to have a good lease. And
No, none of this is an original thought of mine. I just cut and pasted a lot of things.
Right.
Yeah, that's the formatting probably.
And that was from, what's that?
I would say the formatting, always leads.
But that language, I have no problem adjusting it. Let's talk about the content. And if you don't like that specific language, if you could come up with something that you would like in place of it.
Yeah, because it seems to me that the return of security is the end result of a good relationship throughout the term of the lease.
Well, I think that our job and the reason this committee is back and forth is because of security.
I'm sure
issues.
it is.
And I think that the security issue is probably the biggest issue that just about
I would have to.
90% of the renters have. And I think it is important, and then this is what it is. And the reason the handbook goes on for what it does, it's follow these things, and you get your security deposit back. You have all the information at your fingertips. I mean, we're giving them check-in lists, we're giving them checkout lists. I want to actually get a letter that landlords can use to send to their tenants a month before they move out about what is expected. Because I just assume that they know that all the food should be out of the cupboards. But some of the kids don't think about it. They don't look over the refrigerator cupboards because they're too high. But these are all the things that it's going to protect the landlord, it's going to protect the student. Because I sent you a letter saying these are the 20 things that should be done. Were they done? No, this wasn't done. This was done. And it makes the checkout process that much quicker.
So, are we tailoring this handbook to students?
No, this is being tailored towards everybody.
Okay.
That's what I've been trying to do.
Okay, no, I follow you. Because I was just going to suggest that if we are tailoring some kind of, informational packet towards students, to use very student-friendly language, just...
All the language that was in the student handbook has been incorporated into this. There has been some other language incorporated from other municipalities that don't have colleges in them.
Yeah.
But I think it flows. The shorter version, I would like it to be, if we can get this down to 12 pages, as to 21 pages, I think that would go, and just links on where to go if you have issues, like you said.
the Attorney General side.
I mean, and this too would be great as, you know, if we just set up a Facebook page or even just a website as an online, you know, like database, where you can just click a link and it, you know, pops up, hey, you know, you need help with this, call so-and-so.
Right, look, are you looking to rent? Here's a handbook.
Yeah,
Bang.
exactly.
Well, we can have the handbook on the village website, and we can just constantly, you know, we have a Facebook page,
Yeah,
refer
just
links
constantly
back to
link.
that, you
Maybe we
know.
get the tenant unit to put it on there.
No,
This is my bland face.
nice wash, by the way, Ed. Anyway,
Yes, facts, I love real facts.
Yes.
Right?
if, I did reach out to her to get her feedback on the ethical law, and she also felt that the ethical law was stronger than what we were proposing last. So, just to share that with everybody
She
else.
Give you feedback? Wow. They gave you feedback?
Yeah.
She's got, there's feedback on her page too, so that's, if you want to know her thoughts.
Oh, I see them.
Facts, she's good on facts.
But as I was getting to before, you know, it's like Donna said, a good relationship, they're gonna know these things. But if we can have a social presence, a social media presence, because students aren't consuming 21-page documents anymore, they're consuming things electronically for the most part. So as far as reaching them, because from what I see, they are the people that are most uneducated about what rights they have, and they're the ones that are being taken advantage of more so than family renters. If we can get the information out and we have our page, we can just get out, hey, do you know you're responsible for this? We can, you know, once a week put out
Maybe
just
put out
some.
a meeting in a couple of days, you cover the whole book in a month.
I mean, honestly, I'd be open, you know, if you know, just in my mind, you know, like targeting students with this information, because, you know, we were just saying that they're pretty much the least informed community here. I mean, I'm open to doing, you know, like a weekly 2-minute PSA, like, hey, you know, SUNY students, like, do you want some more information about this? Like, here's where you can get it. Just something like that to actually, you know, because, you know, like I said, nobody's going to read a 21-page document.
What is PSA? I'm
But
sorry.
there's-
Public service announcement.
Okay.
Right, there's robots that can generate Facebook posts for you
Yeah.
on a routine basis. All we have to do is make sure that they know that the handbook is out there
It
when
exists.
they need it.
Yeah.
And if we beat them over
And
the head,
it's
hey,
easily
do you know this
accessible.
handbook's there? Hey, do you know this handbook's there? Eventually they're gonna see it enough times in their newsfeed that when they have a problem or one of their friends has a problem, they'll say, oh wait, I know that the village website has this. And then they'll go to the handbook and they'll find what they need. We can protect 10,000 handbooks and hand them out to everyone. Most of them are gonna end up in the garbage or recycling, and
Yeah.
nobody's gonna read them.
It's really about having it
You
online.
know, and it's
People just
online
click
and
through it.
just
Yep.
short and sweet, hey, did you know? And we can hit them with lots of different facts. We can hit them with different facts every week or every day, just enough to make them just really drive and pound it into their heads. Oh,
Yeah.
there is this information
I mean,
out
and-
there and available to me.
I can reach out to student government, the student government council at SUNY, to see if they'd be open to get involved in some way. Because if you know, if we can get the support of the student government over there, that would do it. Give us a huge boost in reaching the rest of the student body.
Yeah, if you could just research which groups have large volumes of students, you know, like the New Paltz page doesn't have large volumes of students, but if you want to reach people in the community, the New Paltz page is a great way to get your message out. You know,
Yeah.
where on campus, what groups, you know, I know they have different
New Paltz
groups for
bartering
every
page is a
graduating.
great
Paul's
one.
barring page,
that's-
just everybody run through.
I mean, it's
My
you know,
teacher
I would need to
would
get
be
permission
bartering
from Donna, but I mean, like, I don't see an issue with that. I mean, at least half the school is on that, and then more than half the town is on that page. So I think that's like a perfect example of you know, the power of kind of getting
Potential.
something like this on social media. Because then, you know, it's not us telling people, hey, these are your rights, check it out. It's their friends saying, hey man, like I just saw this. Did you know that? Yeah, check it out.
We
It's right
just
there."
need to make it common knowledge
Yeah.
amongst everyone that the information's out there, once we have the information out there. And then that'll drive them to it when they need it.
If we get the college to buy in, the college will do, I think, a pretty good job. If we can find a way
Yeah.
to make a page that gets the college students in there.
We have our
Presence.
landlord-tenant relation page and we post things there and then we say, hey, college, can you use your student, I'm sure the student union probably has their own group. Student union, can you share our post? Boom. You
Yep.
know, at the college, I know there's every graduating year has their own group on Facebook too.
Yeah.
You
If we
know.
could, if you want to do a PSA, I would love to be able to do a 3 or 4 minute video about what you're supposed to do when you move in and what you're you're supposed to do when you move out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't know. And you have what you're supposed to do when you move in, what you're supposed to do when you move out, whatever the law is on the books. Again, what I believe, all we're gonna have to do is educate the landlords a little bit better, and I think that the issue, for the most part, will solve itself.
It's a self-cleaning. It may not happen overnight, but it's a
But
self-cleaning.
again, I also,
Yeah.
there are tenants who don't know
Right.
all the right things to do, and there are landlords
Mhm.
who also don't know what the right things are to do. And if we could help bring that gap from here to here, we're making a step in
I think that's exactly what you meant by self-cleaning, is once everybody has the pertinent information and all the facts, that a lot of these problems are just gonna.
Once people start acting on the
resolve
information,
themselves. Yeah.
then the problems, like, "Oh, did you hear what happened to also?" And they, don't do that again. First time somebody told me that I could get a $30,000 fine for not handing out a lead document, guess what?
You
Every
never
time
get-
it's a lead document.
Yep,
So
exactly.
when, on both sides of the fence, as people talk about one person, like achieving something good for themselves through this, that information will spread. More
Exactly.
people will come to it. Landlords are gonna know how they've been affected, tenants are gonna know how they've been affected, and I honestly believe that everybody's business can improve when this situation improves. When both sides are doing things
Well, that's
the right
exactly why I
way.
think doing something with social media is so important, because it's just going to accelerate that spread of information, and through word of mouth, and the community, the online community of New Paltz will really be able to everybody see it at the same time and that kind of thing.
Right.
If you know anybody that's, studying digital media or marketing or anything like that, okay,
I'm a digital media journalism major, so
okay, so then you're.
I'm not great at it, but I know people.
Okay, good, because we need more tenants. I think it's safe to assume at this point Anna's not coming back because we haven't heard from her.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case.
So, I mean, we definitely have at least one
And I'll
spot.
reach out to Steven tonight to see what's going on with him.
Okay.
It's,
All right, so we're
Nothing
gonna read
else?
that- we're gonna read the handbook, and if
I put it in on
if you
on my
have any
notes to make sure.
changes, any suggestions on what you think we can do away with, I'll alter the document, so the next time we come, this has been the suggestion, so we can kind of get through it quickly.
That's a good time to do, because I have Monday, Tuesday off from school with Indigenous Peoples Day, so I'll have enough time to really sit and, comb through everything.
And if there's something you think should be added,
Yeah.
it's, I think it'll be great. But again, I want to be able to make sure that the language in there, that the college is good with it.
Yeah.
Like I said, if the college and the village agree with it, it's a win-win, because it's a universal
Yeah,
document.
exactly.
We're good on that?
Yep.
So good on it, I wrote it down 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, I wrote down to send out reminders consistently over the week to
And
make
what
sure.
about, do we want to, is someone going to reach out to the clerk about getting a page? Or do we
Oh, it's on
wanna-
my list.
Or do we want to wait, or what do we want to do?
I'm gonna reach out to her about the process, but
Yeah,
then we
might as well
can,
start the
I
um,
can send you the social media policy. I mean, the process is basically saying we want to have a page.
Right.
There's a policy in place because in the past, if a page was created and then somebody leaves that board or council, then we don't have access to get
don't
into
have
the
to be a
page or
moderator
change it.
anymore.
So we just need to make sure that we have access to the password.
right.
So a policy is
So
put in place.
I'll contact Alberta and we'll table the discussion about anything that we're gonna do with it until later, but we'll at least have the process of getting the paperwork started for it.
One thing I just thought of that would simplify and streamline the process of at least getting some kind of outreach online is, rather than starting on Facebook, we could start on Twitter, because you can share all the Twitter stuff the same exact way as Facebook, and it can be short, concise.
I'm too old for that.
I mean, it's easier than Facebook's use. I honestly, I've never even used Twitter, but it's much easier than Facebook. It's much more shareable. It's much quicker. And I mean, we could do a Facebook page too. I'm just trying to think of different online entities we could use.
I'm not disagreeing with you, I just,
It
I.
sounds like that might be your
Yeah.
takeaway for the next couple of
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
Just to start getting
I'm kind of
planning.
thinking out loud now. I just know that it would be easier to get the ball rolling on something like that than an actual cohesive Facebook page. That's just my kind of.
Also, I'm actually gonna have some conversations with a number of my tenants to find out where they think the best places that they could find information, how they would share
It's
information.
not Facebook.
What's that? They say
Not
Facebook.
Facebook.
It's not Facebook.
It's not Facebook.
What would you say?
It's Snapchat, it's Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Well, Instagram and
but-
Facebook.
but
It's all interwoven into the same
Right.
thing though. People
Facebook-
share Instagrams on Facebook and vice versa.
Facebook and Twitter seem to, like you said, they seem to overlap.
Well, it's Instagram now too because Instagram is owned by
I don't know how
Facebook.
to use it.
Yeah, it's Instagram is essentially Twitter for photos.
Yeah,
So it's not as good for spreading information. It's more for sharing your
Got it.
nice photos. That's why I thought Twitter is because it's short, it's to the point, it's text.
is it
and it's
moderatable?
easily shareable. Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, then that'll be my mission, is to learn about Twitter this week, do that.
But yeah, that's something definitely to discuss next time. I was just kind of thinking how to kind of get this process rolling with minimal effort on our.
You're a student, you said,
Yeah.
what year?
Honestly, I'm like a super student. Because I already had a degree, and then I transferred, and I took some time off, and I got married, and all this fun stuff.
Oh, you're gonna stay in New Paltz? Is that your intention?
Yeah, that's my
Good.
plan.
I like when somebody comes in with energy and
Yeah.
thoughts and
Yeah.
willing to do stuff, and then, all right, it's January 1, thanks, see you.
Yeah, no, I intend to stick around. I like the area. I'm very much an Adirondack person, and being here reminds me very much of the Adirondacks, without being 300 miles from everything.
So the Robin's in neutral. Jeff's a tenant, who is
Steven
Steven?
is the new one.
So we have to get, Steven's a college student?
I believe so. Yeah, I think I
Yes.
spun his
Can we
Facebook
get
page.
somebody who's not a college student as a tenant, or just?
I know a few that I've been pushing since we tried getting this going that
I tried to
just
get a
don't
couple more
have
tenants on
interest.
board, and they were just.
Honestly, because I live in Southside, and across the way, I think it's the Windsor Apartments. There seems to be quite a few families living there. So honestly, I'm at the point where I might just go door to door and be like, "Hey, are you interested in having your voice heard?" Because I feel that we really need that non-student family tenant voice here, because that side, I'm trying to represent them, but it's not a world that I'm super familiar with.
It seems like if you're married and have a family now, you're actually straddling both already.
Well,
And you're
I'm
probably
married,
not
but I
gonna
wouldn't
need a
necessarily
lot.
call it a family. I don't want to get into details, but yeah.
When I graduated from college, I was married with a kid and
Mhm.
working full time, and so.
Yeah, I mean,
I rented.
I'm separated with no kids, but that's why I don't really have that insight into it. But I feel like we really need, ideally it would be, a mother or father of a family renting here in New Paltz to get that perspective.
Right.
Also, give the children a voice, because they're tenants too.
Right. Your attachment to the area also makes you something more than a transient student,
Mhm.
and that's.
I mean,
a
I've been
really
living in
good
this
thing.
area for 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like, don't plan to leave.
No, good to hear
All
that.
right, so, was there anything else?
No, that was we
Is it
finalized the
your
plan
motion?
for next week,
That
so.
is my motion to adjourn.
Before
It was very
the
subtle.
bell rings.
I move we adjourn to
So
meeting.
many words in my mouth.
I'm moving, or second Ed's motion to adjourn to meeting. Everybody in favor, say aye. Aye.
Microphone. Do you know how to turn?
Alex is still here. She's just working on other things lately.
I really appreciate your,
Oh, thank you.
you too. You gotta break this all down, right?